Right.
But let's move on. And what's our third topic?
Another huge topic. Well, it's the deportation in the Moncrieffe case for a small amount of marijuana.
What happened?
Adrian Moncrieffe, Jamaican national, found with 1.3 grams. They say 3 joints. I would dispute that.
Well, one good
anyway,
split. One good split.
He had been in America since he was 3 years old. Did he have a citizenship yet? Apparently not. And he pled guilty, and he said he was going to share it with his friends, this massive cache of illegal substances that he had. And the immigration department decided to deport him.
Whoa, 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 whoa. How do you get deported for a joint? I don't care. There is no.
So
we've got 30 million illegal immigrants. Why is one's quasi-legal? He was illegal. He was here legally.
Right.
He wasn't, just because he wasn't a citizen doesn't mean he was illegal.
He was
here legally here.
Legal citizen.
And so why would he be deported for a joint?
I think it hinged on a definition that it was aggravated felony because of intent to distribute, because he was going to share it with his friends.
Okay, I see. So he confessed to wanting to share the joint with his friends, and that became an aggravated felony?
Apparently.
But how?
Well,
is that like dealing drugs?
Slavish adherence to meaningless rules on the part of the bureaucracy, right?
Yeah, and which state was this in? Is
I
that
forget.
Georgia?
Yeah, Georgia. So it was a felony. It's a felony under Georgia.
Under Georgia law. But how does it make? How is an aggravated felony under the Immigration Control Act? I don't understand. How does it jump to an aggravated felony?
No, it said under federal law it's not a felony.
I thought, isn't that like a federal misdemeanor?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so then how does it become an aggravated felony under the ICA?
I don't know. Makes you wonder. Well, I think it hinged on him admitting that he was going to share it.
That he was going to share it. So, but it's not the matter of the possession as much as the distribution of that joint. Like if we were sitting around the table passing a joint, right? Isn't that the same idea?
Laughable.
And that's laughable. Is that an aggravated felony?
Yeah.
Only if you jump on the table with an axe and cut my head off while you're sharing the joint, maybe.
Right.
But an aggravated felony in this state is violence.
So
I don't know where that's going.
The interesting thing about this case is that the Supreme Court even had to take it at all. It's such a trivial.
This went to the Supreme Court.
It went to well, it had to, apparently.
But why?
Well, that's
why did the government keep pushing it?
Well, no.
The government kept pushing it.
Lucky for Mr. Moncrieffe, he found legal help.
You know, that must have been a fortune getting into the Supreme Court.
That's why I was asking you, how much do you think that cost? Anyway,
his defense could have been easily $1 million worth of time, energy, and briefs. By the way, appellate briefs, which I've done many of them, very complicated, very time-consuming. Research is like nightmarish.
Specialty area.
Super specialty, and it takes more than one attorney to work on a case like this. The government normally spends 2 to 3 times more than any defense would spend. That means that the government could have easily spent $2 to $5 million on this, trying to deport him for a joint.
Yeah. So, you know, aside from other comments you could make, you would say the fact that this is a case at all, it's the result of an insane drug war run amok.
But this doesn't make any sense. Even the drug war doesn't deal with that. The drug war does not deal with a joint being an aggravated felony under any conditions.
And in the opinion, at the last line of the opinion, it said distribution of drugs is still deportable offense.
Of course, but distribution of a joint around a table?
Obviously not.
Not anymore. So do you think the Supreme Court got this one right?
Well, it's a no-brainer, and you know, too bad they don't spend a little more of their precious brain power addressing the
serious issues.
War on drugs. Yeah. Well, so it's really ironic that that huge issue of Eric Holder making a major change in drug war policy.
I'm glad you brought that up, because this just happened. It just happened, and generally for the viewers, what happened was that Eric Holder is effectively reversing 30 years of drug policy and sentencing, where people that had mandatory minimum sentences for mostly, and I mentioned this earlier, what he's not saying, but what he's talking about is people that deal crack. because that is the...
You think so?
I believe that's the deal, because crack is the drug that has that has the longest mandatory minimums in all drugs.
Oh, yeah.
The selling crack.
Right.
You can sell 1 gram of crack, go away for 5 years in federal penitentiary.
Right.
1 gram.
Right.
And the disparity is, and what she didn't say, was that unfortunately people of color are disproportionately targeted for those types of sentences. So when he talks about releasing all nonviolent, allegedly nonviolent people, he's talking about a lot of people that are dealing crack, meth, things that have minimum mandatories. And what he didn't throw in was the race part of this, but unfortunately, I know that race is part of this, because I know the prisons are disproportionately filled with people of color as opposed to white people. And he felt the disparity between a white person using powdered cocaine and a black person using crack cocaine was recordably, statistically outrageous.
It is, yeah.
But he didn't address it under those.
So I'm going to mention, I just saw that great film, The House I Live In.
Oh.
About the 30-year drug war.
Well, tell me about it. Let's talk our viewers.
You know what? I could not even watch the whole movie. It was heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Well, this goes right to the Moncrieffe file. I mean, literally. Well, here you got a guy for a joint. They wanted to deport him.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he had legal aid, came up and saved him. And I got to tell you, no matter what I feel about anything or what everyone else feels, you don't get deported for a joint, especially if you're here legally. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. He had no ties to any drug cartels. In fact, when you read the Supreme Court, there's no issues about that he's tied to gangs, violence, cartels, any of that.
Right.
So why? Why was this man targeted?
Bureaucratic. What's the right?
But see, this is what Holder's talking about. He's almost talking about this man, this kind of thing, where somebody's disproportionately targeted.
I would agree. Right.
And so he does have a point. Attorney General Holder, I have to say, the minimum mandatories have put such a stress on the U.S. prison system, both federal and state, that pure finances dictate that you shouldn't be locking people up, separating them from their families, from their loved ones, from their children, over the minimum minimum mandatories.
Huge.
But I ask the question: is dealing heroin and dealing crack always a nonviolent sport, or is that? Or you have to look at each case individually?
I don't think anyone's even talking about dealers. People are talking about personal use. That's what he was talking about.
Well, actually, he's broader than that. He's saying that people that use is one thing, people that deal are another, but he's kind of put a generalistic kind of a little vagueness into what he's talking about.
Yeah. Well,
but anyway,
the point any reasonable person could agree on is
that there's people in prison that shouldn't be there. I agree to that.
No, the huge, crazy social cost of the drug war. And,
it's terrible.
And so the rough numbers that came out in this documentary, 30 years, 1972, that's 40 years. 40 years, $1 trillion spent, and as a broad look at it, no change in levels of drug use.
That's pretty scary.
They said no change. Essentially no change.
Well, this is like prohibition. Maybe we should rethink the whole policy. You look at some of the libertarians and how they look at it, and then we go from there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're coming to the end of the show. Dan, thank you so much for sitting in for Mark tonight.
Always a pleasure.
Because it's exciting to have good commentary with people.
Yes.
And I love the views that you brought to this.
Yes.
And I welcome you back at any time.
Thank you.
Okay, so for tonight and Law Talk, I want to take this opportunity to look out to the viewing public and say, please pay attention to the news. Thank you.